Brilliance Audio presents Distrust by Lisa Jackson, performed by Aaron Bennett. The sun blazed hot in the summer sky. Dry grass crackled, and grasshoppers flew from the path of the buckskin gelding and its rider as the horse headed toward the clear stream slicing through the arid field. Sweat beaded on Danny's forehead and slid down her spine. She lifted the rifle to her shoulder and cocked it, her eyes squinting through the sight at the target. A tall, blond man with broad shoulders, a tanned, muscular torso, slim hips, and the nerve to trespass on her property by wading in Grizzly Creek. No doubt this stranger was another one of Caleb Johnson's men. The element of surprise was on her side, and definitely to her advantage. The stranger's back was to her, his sweat-glistened muscles rippling as he waded in the mountain stream, his eyes scouring the clear, ice-cold water. It didn't appear that he had heard the warning click of the hammer of her Winchester or seen the horse and rider approach. Danny's elegant jaw hardened with determination, and her lips tightened, though her hands shook as she took aim. "Move it, mister!" she shouted. The target looked up and visibly started, the muscles of his naked back bunching as he spun around to face her. Water sprayed upward from his sudden movement. "Get the hell off my property!" The stranger just stood in the middle of the creek as if dumbstruck, his eyes narrowing against the bright Montana sun and his body poised as if to run. But there was nowhere to hide. Aside from a few scraggly oaks, the field of brittle sun-dried grass offered no cover. The gently sloping land was barren and dry as a bone. Danny softly kicked the buckskin and advanced on the object of her outrage. When she was near enough to see the man clearly, she smiled at the mixture of indignation, horror, and fury in his sky-blue eyes. "I said, move it," she repeated, stopping the gelding a few feet from the creek and cocking her head in the direction of the bank where a pile of his belongings, shirt, fishing reel, and worn boots, lay on the grass. His square jaw was thrust forward, his tanned skin nearly white over his face as he slowly waded out of Grizzly Creek. He kept his gaze on the barrel of the rifle as she moved forward. Danny kept the Winchester trained on the stranger's every move as he bent down, picked up a plaid work shirt, and angrily stuffed his sinewy arms through the sleeves. She placed the rifle across her thighs. "Why don't you tell me what you're doing on my land?" she suggested, breathing once again when she realized that this man was complying with her orders. Some of Caleb Johnson's thugs hadn't been so easily buffaloed. The intruder didn't flinch, but slowly buttoned his shirt. His lips were tight over his teeth, making his mouth seem little more than an angry line. "I was told this land belonged to Daniel Summers." "Danielle Summers," she corrected. "And you're she," he deduced. "That's right." Danny almost grinned at his reaction. "Now, suppose you tell me just who you are and what you think you're doing on my property." "Why not?" he asked rhetorically and then muttered an angry oath under his breath. "I'm waiting." He shook his head and looked up at the cloudless sky. "How do I get myself into these things?" he muttered with a grimace before letting out a long, angry sigh and dropping his gaze from the heavens to horse and rider. "Okay, if you want to play out the bad B-Western scenario, I'll state my name and business." "Good." She stared down at him without a smile, her eyes glued to his chiseled features. She guessed him to be around 35, give or take a couple of years. From the looks of him, the poor bastard had probably been on Caleb Johnson's payroll less than a week. Otherwise, he wouldn't appear so clean-cut, or have been so stupid as to wander blatantly over the property line in broad daylight. The name's McEnroe. Like the tennis player? He snorted at the inference, as if he'd heard it 1,000,000 times. He probably had. No relation. I'm Chase McEnroe. And you work for Caleb Johnson, she said, leaning over the saddle horn and pinning him with her wide, gray-green eyes.